So shout out to Jeff as well. And then he had to leave because right as we're doing the show, breaking news, press conference.
Right.
Then you see Coach Pop being wheeled out there. So it's like, first we've seen him address the media since his last game.
Look at us starting on time. Right at 10 a.m.
You're overmodulated. You might want to turn down your volume just a couple. Let's see.
How's that sound?
Sounds a lot better.
Okay. I might tone it down a little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit more.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Let me hear you.
Hello.
You're a little too low. Just a couple clicks.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hello, test.
See right
1,
there.
2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yep, that's good.
All right. Let me know during the show if I become overmodulated again. I'll
let you know. Good morning, Sam. We got some things to talk about. Got reaction to the passing of the torch. Coach Pop officially passing the torch, and we got to kind of see Coach Pop yesterday. First time we've seen him since his last game. What's up, Matt Gomez? And then upsets talked about in the NBA playoffs. A lot of upsets. Oh, we got a happy birthday in order here, too. Chris Paul. It's his birthday. Well, your audio's cut out now, Mike.
Yeah, did he turn 40?
Yep, officially. What's up, Pooper Flash?
Welcome to another episode of the Area 210 podcast with Mike Jimenez and Joe Garcia. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Join the discussion as we broadcast to you live from beautiful West San Antonio. And remember to tip your hosts as it helps the show grow.
What's up, San Antonio? What's going on, South Texas? This is the Area 210 podcast. My name is Mike Jimenez. That's Joe Garcia. We talk sports, pop culture, and nostalgia on this show. Going to go for about an hour and a half today. We started on time. Excited about that. Joe, lots to get into. Very emotional day for San Antonio Spurs fans yesterday. Gregg Popovich took to the podium, spoke for 6.5 minutes as he addressed the media, as he officially passed the torch to Mitch Johnson, who's now the new head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. Mitch Johnson also took to the podium and gave a speech about the future of the franchise. The NBA playoffs, crazy yesterday. 2 road victories yesterday. The Knicks bested the Celtics in overtime, and the Thunder choked it away to the Denver Nuggets in the first game of that best-of-7 series. Lots to get into today. Joe, how are you doing, my man? You and I are both fighting allergies today.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm doing good. Just as we were talking about yesterday, we had LG joining us yesterday, co-hosting while you were on the return from Miami. And as we're talking, and we had Jeff on, we had that breaking news: Pop at the podium, a Coach Pop sighting. So that kind of changed the dynamic of the show. Where we had other things to talk about. We were talking about Coach Pop, and we kind of showed some of the video of Coach Pop at the podium. We're going to have a reaction to that right now as well. But yeah, I'm doing all right, man. Just trying to go ahead and survive the allergies, but it's good to have you back here on the show. Everybody's making fun. They're like, "Who's your new co-host, Joe?" This new co-host sucks. I'm like, "Oh God, here we go."
Yeah, Jamaica Mike turned into Miami Mike yesterday. I was in Miami and Key West, Florida. I'd never been to Key West before. My girlfriend, Francesca, her daughter goes to college, getting her master's over there in Miami. So we hung out there for a few days. Came back. I'll be in San Antonio the rest of the week, so I'm leaving today. Going to be in studio Tuesday and Wednesday, and most likely on Friday as well. So I'm looking forward to being side by side with you, Joe. But yesterday was a very touching moment for the Spurs. I mean, I know that we have divisions within Spurs fandom, right? Within Spurs Twitter, Spurs fandom. There was Team Tank versus Team Play-In. There was in Pop We Trust versus we need to move on to a different era. Lots of different things going on. Pro-Sohan, anti-Sohan. There's a lot going on within Spurs fandom. But yesterday, we finally got to see Gregg Popovich, who back in, early part of November, suffered what they described as a mild stroke. Wasn't really mild because it looked a little bit like he's still recovering from it all. And then you see what happened a couple of weeks ago as he was taken by ambulance from Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. TMZ Sports reported that. And we knew the writing was on the wall that he wasn't coming back. And I think that a lot of Spurs fans, Joe, you and I have talked about this privately, held out this optimism that was not realistic, especially if you've been around somebody who has experienced a stroke,
Yeah.
especially if they've been in their mid-70s when they experienced it. But there could not be any person that is a Spurs fan, no matter if you're angry at the Spurs, happy with the Spurs, optimistic, pessimistic, who could have watched that yesterday without a tear in their eye. Because as much as I've wanted Pop to have gone out and rode out into the sunset 10 years ago, he's still a man.
Yeah.
And he's flesh and blood. And there's two aspects to it all. There's the fan aspect of it all, and then there's the human nature aspect of it all. And watching him go out there, and I saw that, Joe. I was watching it live, and to see him slowly walk up, Duncan holding a cane, flanked on both sides at the podium by Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili. 6.5 minutes where he thanked the fans, he thanked the organization, he thanked the players, he thanked everybody at the Frost Bank Center, and basically said that he could no longer do that job and that Spurs fans and this team, the players, the organization, deserve somebody who can do this full time, who can put 100% of their effort and energy into it and take this team to a higher level. But we're used to seeing a certain Pop, right? We're used to seeing Pop, go through the Artisan River Theater going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 championships. We're used to him screaming, "I want some nasty." He has aged so much over the last 6 months or so because of this debilitating stroke that from a human aspect, disregard the fact that it's a Spurs fandom and all that stuff. From a man-to-man aspect, watching him talk slowly, watching him be more measured, and when he's talking and he's looking back and forth, and for him to be thanking all of his physical therapists and all of that stuff, man, Joe, it was a gut punch. And our good friend Sam, who goes by Zed's Dead on Twitter,
Yeah.
I'm going to echo the statement that she said on Twitter. She says this was closure. Like you needed to see this to actually understand that, wow, we cannot go back to In Pop We Trust because those days are over. He needs to focus on his recovery. He ends the press conference by taking off his jacket and showing that he's wearing a T-shirt saying that his new title is El Jefe, which is great. Everyone got a laugh out of it. And then he passes the torch officially to Mitch Johnson, who gave him a hug as he took the podium. Not only did you see Duncan there and Ginobili, but you also saw Wemby and a blast from the past and DeJounte Murray, former Spurs point guard, former All-Star for the Spurs, coming on in, who, by the way, loves both because he loves Pop as a man, former player of Pop, but also knew Mitch Johnson since he was 9 years old. Mitch was his AAU coach. And for DeJounte Murray to be welcomed into the Rocket Locketeer, which didn't exist when he played for the Spurs back in the day, it was beautiful to see. And, Joe, I hate to say it this way because you may or may not disagree with this. I think that display that we saw, that 6.5 minutes and that 20-minute press conference by Mitch Johnson afterwards, with the past and present players there, I think it is a call to arms from Spurs fans to say, you better get on the Mitch train. That we need to all be on the same page and give the guy a chance. Give him a couple of years to figure it out. Because this whole divided nature of it all, after watching that 26 minutes, 6 minutes of Pop and 20 minutes of Mitch Johnson, I don't know how any Spurs fan can sit there and moan and complain about Mitch Johnson when you saw the past and present come together and the future take the podium. I'm sorry, man. I cannot stomach the idea of people complaining about Mitch Johnson right now because we don't know what we've got with him.
You're right in the sense that we don't know what we have with him. All the wins that he had last season were all Coach Pop's wins. This is going to be his season, his team. He's going to take the reins, and he's going to be moving forward as the Spurs' new head coach. Now, the thing is that Mitch is going to be graded by how many victories or how far the team will go in the postseason. Now, it's one thing to go ahead and, let's say, have a decent showing in the regular season, but Spurs fans have gone through a 6+ year drought of this team not getting to the postseason. You know, they had a play-in stint when they were in the bubble, and they were easily dispatched by the Pelicans.
Right.
Now, I mean, great that the Spurs have found their head coach. The thing is, he's unproven. You know, he doesn't have a lot of experience as being a head coach. There's going to be a learning curve. And the thing is that you have the faction of fan that's going to be on board. Oh, yeah, Mitch, we trust. Yes, we're going to go forward with Mitch. And you're going to have the other faction of fan, which is like me, and be like, I'm going to hold him to the same standard that we're going to hold any NBA coach to. You're going to be graded by your wins, your losses, and how far your team's going to go into the postseason. Now, Mitch is on the clock right now, and whether he believes it or not, or whether Spurs fans believe it or not, if Mitch has a couple of seasons as a losing coach, right, say that he doesn't have a lot of victories, the Spurs aren't getting far into the postseason, they're not going for a play-in, and he's having to deal with these, let's say, losses, what's going to happen to him? Is he going to have a short stint as the next head coach of the San Antonio Spurs? Or is he going to have some longevity? To me, it's a big question mark still. It all starts next season with him at the helm. I don't know what I'm going to get out of Mitch. There's a big question mark to me. I think we're going to go into this next year, into this upcoming season, and it's going to be a learning curve. We're going to probably see more of the same. If they're going to run it back again with the same roster, and you have Mitch as the head coach, we've kind of seen what he can do already. Now that he's going to be given full access to go ahead and say, put your stamp of approval on here. We've given you everything you need. This is going to be your team. Go and put your, let's say, signature on this team now.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting to see what he can do, you know, by himself.
I'm going to meet you halfway with that, Joe, because I know you and I have disagreed on that, and I know people in our chat, which, by the way, is powered by MCS General Contracting. I know that we have disagreed on this particular topic, and there are half the people on here who are like, give Mitch a chance. The other half are like, you know, no, we need to have a Michael Malone, or we need to have a Taylor Jenkins or Becky Hammond or whomever, right? But there's one part of that press conference that sticks out to me when Mitch Johnson took to the podium. They asked the question, what has Gregg Popovich taught you or told you about this process? And Mitch Johnson said, he told me to do it my way. Okay. Because that is part of the complaint. Is he going to be Pop's puppet? Now, he's obviously Pop's protege, right? He got mentored by Pop. But is he going to be the puppet of it all? Because at some times last year, it seemed that way. It seemed like, well, why are we starting a 39-year-old Chris Paul? Why are we doing this, that, and the other? And it seemed as though, if you remember, after Pop first had his stroke and Mitch took over, Mitch was doing things a little bit differently. And then towards the latter part of the season, it seemed to be like it was Pop light, like Pop had the influence on lineups and what was going on. And when Mitch Johnson seemed to be doing his own thing, things were working. But he says Pop has told him, this is your team. Do things your way. Build on that. And the word build was mentioned several times by Mitch Johnson in that press conference, saying, we're not restarting. We are building on what we've done already. We've gone from 22 wins to 34 wins. And I agree with you, Joe. He needs to be measured on not being a nice guy. He needs to be measured on wins and losses. But he's 37 years old, Joe, and a good faction of Spurs fans have wanted a young head coach for the longest time.
They also wanted Becky Hammond to take the reins.
Well, at some point that could have been it, but Becky Hammond doesn't want it. Becky Hammond has job security where she is. Becky Hammond is royalty in the WNBA. She has a cush job. She comes to San Antonio. She's thrown into the fire, under the microscope. You're going to have all those people going, oh, she's a DEI hire and all that crap. Of course, Pop, who was liberal, would have a woman come in. You would have all that nonsense, all that noise. She doesn't want to deal with it, Joe. Doesn't want to deal with it. Maybe one day she'll be a head coach. Maybe she'll be a head coach for the Spurs one day. But we have asked for this for the longest time, but it's a scary thing, Joe, because It's actually here. We talk about it in theory. Spurs need to have a younger coach. Great. Younger coach here. And you're like, well, we don't want this young coach. How about one with pedigree? Speaking of which, the Denver Nuggets, we'll talk about that later, keep advancing without Michael Malone. So how important was he as a head coach? The better that team plays, the less, I don't know, good he looks.
I guess the more expendable he was really at the end of the day. Yeah. So I'm just saying at the end of the day, Mitch is going to be graded not by how great a guy he is or saying the right things and being, let's say a presence in the community, being liked by the media, by the let's say guys on the team,
Right.
that we have right now. He's going to be graded by wins and losses, just like any other coach in the NBA, and rightfully so. He should be. But how many years of, let's say, losing seasons are going to be tolerated under the Mitch Johnson reign? I'm just saying in 3 to 4 years, 3 to 4 losing seasons in a row, if they're not getting to, let's say, a play-in, they're not getting far into the postseason, at least getting to the postseason. Like, are you going to be the 7th seed, the 8th seed? What's going to happen? To me, I don't care about what everybody thinks about Mitch. I'm just going to grade him as I would any other NBA head coach. Wins and losses. That's it.
The thing about it is this, is that Mitch Johnson, there needs to be some point of reference there as to like what is considered to be a successful year. Believe it or not, Joe, I mean, I'm one of the few who believes that this was a successful year for the Spurs. Going from 22 wins to 34, okay, but you missed out on Wemby being there for 40% of the season. There was a big trade in the middle of the season for De'Aaron Fox. You had an aging Chris Paul out there. You had Sohan, who battled injuries and was going back and forth between the starting lineup and the bench. I thought Mitch Johnson did a pretty good job. And for a lot of Spurs fans out there who are like, well, he sucks on what was the phrase that they used, that he doesn't know how to react and he doesn't know how to do this, make lineup adjustments. You cannot make lineup adjustments, Joe, when your roster's trash. Who is he going to turn to? Blake Wesley? Who's going to turn to? Malachi Branham? Mamu? Who is he going to turn to? Champagny? there was no pivot point. The Spurs had 6 good NBA players and 6 bad ones every day. That's what it was. So you can't. It's not like the Spurs had a blossoming all-star on the bench. It's not that. Keldon would show up from time to time. But for the fact of the matter is that the Spurs were not a very deep team last year. They were just a bunch of dudes.
And if you run it back again,
out of that,
you run it back again with the same roster?
They're not going to run it back again, Joe. And here's the thing, Joe. Again, maybe it's a change of tone, but as much as I've hated Brian Wright's run as the GM of the Spurs, from when he took over, 7 years ago, Josh Primo, picking a Primo over Sengun, picking Samanich, picking players like Jeremy Sohan over Jalen Williams.
Investing time in Shemezi Metu, who I thought was going to pan out to be a good role player, but that just was not the case.
And I know you and I have said that he's done the no-brainer moves, right? Because he had the number 1 overall pick in 2023.
The number 4. Mm-hmm.
He got Wemby. That was a no-brainer. 2024, win the lottery again to move up from 5 to 4. They got Stephon Castle, back-to-back Rookie of the Years, right? So we're saying we can't give him flowers for that, but we have to look at Brian Wright the last 12 months. The what have you done for me lately? The Janet Jackson lyric aspect of it all. What have you done for me lately? Last 12 months, Brian Wright's been perfect. And I am highly critical of him, but I do not see one move that Brian Wright has done in the last 12 months that I go, wow, what the hell is he doing? He got De'Aaron Fox. We now have an all-star point guard, all-star caliber point guard, right? Who's not only a good point guard, but clutch. Going to be starting on this team next year, right? Wemby, hopefully will be healthy enough to start the season. He should be. And he was on track to become Defensive Player of the Year. Castle is a burgeoning superstar, man. When I hear Draymond Green go, dude, I like that guy. With Draymond Green, who's a future Hall of Famer, who is tough as nails and critical about everybody and talks trash about everybody, looks at Stephon Castle and goes, that guy's got dog in him. I'm like, okay. Sohan going out and playing within himself. Okay. Got the Toyota Corolla in Harrison Barnes. Okay. Then you get rid of Zach Collins' contract. You get something for an expiring Trey Jones contract. I'm sorry. And as many Spurs fans hate to hear this, the last 12 months, Brian Wright has batted 1,000.
So you're going to be on board with like our good friend Fernandez is saying, if it ain't right, it's wrong.
All I'm saying is it took him a while, but what's one thing he's done wrong the last 12 months? I can't find one. I can't find one.
We're going to find out what he does in the offseason.
We needed a big man. He didn't trade for Trae Young, which was probably a good thing. We needed a big man and another shooter. Okay, fine. That's free agency, right? But when it comes to it all, he did a fine job this past year. And now you have a young head coach in Mitch Johnson coming in. The Spurs right now, and I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, and then also going back and forth on Twitter. Everyone's surprised that this announcement was made yesterday. What was the surprise? The combine starts on Sunday. The draft lottery is what, Monday?
Tuesday, I believe it's on a Tuesday.
Monday or Tuesday? It's next week. We were within 1 week of the combine and the lottery. Of course, we needed to know who the head coach was.
Yeah.
It's
important.
Of course we did that.
Yeah. May 12th is when it is, over in Chicago, Illinois. I can't hear you, Mike. You lost your audio.
Sorry about that. I'm sniffing. Allergies flaring up. The combine's in less than a week, and that's going to be exciting. And the Spurs right now, if we don't move up in the draft, let's say that we do pick at 8 and 14, we're probably going to have a fringe potential starter, or at least a 6-man type of guy. And then we will have somebody there who could be a potential project or somebody that you potentially trade. Maybe you package the deals. I have all the faith in the world that something's going to happen this offseason, Joe. They're not going to run it back.
The only way that they can, Brian Wright can gain my confidence if he does something amazing in the offseason, and that is doing something that the Spurs aren't really known for. The biggest free agent signing that they've ever had in an offseason was LaMarcus Aldridge.
Right. No.
And
well,
if they
Joe,
if they can go and get Giannis, that's something different now. Now you're playing in contention.
Joe, well, I mean, the whole Giannis thing, I mean, it's fantasy talk. Is it possible? Yes. But what are the odds, right? 10% maybe? I mean, let's
Same
call
thing
it
was said about LaMarcus Aldridge.
Well, LaMarcus Aldridge and Pop were very similar-minded when it comes to it all. You say that you want him to do something. Well, De'Aaron Fox coming to the Spurs. We fleeced the Kings. Brian Wright.
No doubt that we did.
The Sacramento Kings, right?
Yeah.
Didn't give up Castle, didn't give up any talent. They gave up like 10 cents on the dollar for De'Aaron Fox. Now we're going to have a whole season with De'Aaron Fox, who plays lockdown defense, pretty good defense. He led the league in steals one year. You have De'Aaron Fox out there with Castle, and then you have Wemby. You've got 3 good defenders now. So now the Spurs are creating a good defensive team.
But you still have no center.
Well, Golden State doesn't have a center either, but still, you know, there's something's going to be done, Joe. Something's going to be done.
They don't have a center. They don't have a 3-and-D guy. They don't have nobody that can shoot a consistent 3. They still lack anybody who can shoot a consistent jump shot. And if they run it back with the same team healthy,
they're not going to run it back.
We're going to probably get the same results, though, Mike. I'm just saying,
Joe,
if they do, that's what's going to happen.
Did they run it back last year?
They did. They had mostly the same players.
They got Harrison Barnes in. They brought in CP3.
And you said CP3 was a punt.
That was
them punting the season.
It was a punt on Trae Young. That's damn
no,
straight. No,
you said it was a punt on the season because they got CP3 because
it was it not? Was it not? They did
no,
not get
it wasn't.
An all-star.
I told you. I thought he was going to come in here and have an impact on the team, and he did. He helped the team win more than they did the previous season.
He had an impact on Stephon Castle, which was great. Okay, The whole
He
idea
had
of
an
it.
impact on the overall team. He showed them what it took to win in crunch time.
The thing about it, though, is that, and I don't want to relitigate the past, it was a punt on, we're not getting Trae Young. We're not getting a big name. Chris Paul is a big name who was 38, 39 years old. That was the punt. The punt was, we're not going to go get a star. Okay. That's what the punt was, Joe. And they're going to do something this offseason. And I don't want Spurs fans to get their hopes up on Giannis or KD. Maybe it's going out and getting Naz Reid. Maybe it's a play like that. But the Spurs are going to do something this offseason.
I'm not opposed to, what do they say, role players, Mike. And that's another thing that this Spurs team is missing. Beyond going after a big name free agent, they're missing consistent role players, guys that can shoot a three-point shot that you can count on. Not Sohan out there on the wing begging for the ball. They give him the ball, and then the other team just laps on him because they know that he's not going to be able to knock down the shot. They're just going to let him shoot it. They're going to dare him. Show me. Go ahead, make the shot. We're going to let you wide open because they know he's not going to be able to knock it down. We need somebody that's going to put the fear of, you know what, we got to come out and guard the wing now. We just can't crowd the paint and spread the floor for the San Antonio Spurs to let everybody else kind of move without the ball, get some backdoor cuts, easy buckets, maybe open the floor up a little bit more for Wemby, maybe open it up for Harrison Barnes a little bit. Let them work. Let them do their thing.
Right.
The Spurs have become too one-dimensional, and I think the addition of consistent role players, quality role players with this team will be the difference maker. It doesn't always have to be a superstar. It can also be just going out and getting some guys that can fill their role and fill it well.
And it's got to be at a certain price because people are asking the question on our chat line powered by MCS General Contracting, asking the question, well, who can we get in free agency? Like what free agent is available in 2025 this summer, right? The point I'm trying to make, though, is that you really can't spend a lot on free agency unless you have the belief that you're going to get rid of a key piece down the road, right? Because in 2 seasons, okay, so we're going to be offering an extension in August to De'Aaron Fox, right? Going to have a massive raise. 2 years from now, we're going to have what? Or at the end of next season, Sohan's bill comes due, right? So if the Spurs have any desire to sign Sohan, they need to understand that those free agency dollars are going to be used for that, right? What happens when Wemby's deal comes through? Castle's comes through. So the point is, Joe, is that I don't think the Spurs can do anything in the form of big name free agent signings unless they get rid of a core piece. Unless they get rid of Vassell, Keldon Johnson, right?
I have no problem with that. Gone.
I don't either. And if you have if you ask the question, well, what are they going to do? I think it is more likely the Spurs pull a trade than they get a big name free agent signing. Because not only do the Spurs have the contracts to do so, in Devin Vassell making $27 million and $17 million for Keldon Johnson, you have all the picks, Joe. The Spurs have 8 and 14. What happens if the ping pong balls go our way? I saw this article the other day that asked the question, who is going to get Giannis, right? And it posed a question. I thought this was interesting because this was not a local guy that said this. This was a national thing. It said that right now the Spurs and the Rockets, and I'm going to double check this, have close to an equal chance of making their way into the top 4, right? So I'm going to go to NBA Tankathon right now, right? And the reason is because Houston has Phoenix's pick. And Phoenix has a 17.3% chance. Oh, Spurs have a better chance. 17.3% chance of making their way into the top 4. Basically a 1 in 6 chance, right? The Spurs have about a 30% chance of getting into the top 4. If one of those teams gets into the top 4, they're in the driver's seat to go get Giannis.
Yeah.
And I found that to be interesting because what if the Spurs get the number 2 pick? You want Dylan Harper or do you want Giannis? What if the Spurs get the number 3 pick? Do you want Ace Bailey, Trey Johnson, or do you want Giannis? I would say this, though, Joe. I would trade that pick if it was 3 or 4. If it's 1, I'm not trading Cooper Flagg for Giannis. If it's number 2, I'm not trading Dylan Harper for Giannis. But if it's 3 or 4, Joe, bye. Yeah, I'd welcome Giannis with open arms at that point, right? Send the number 3 pick if it goes to number 3, right? Send that with Keldon and Vassell and future picks. Make it happen. Make it so. I would do that in a heartbeat. But I would not trade Dylan Harper or Cooper Flagg for Giannis.
Maybe that'd be the asking price plus Keldon plus Devin Vassell and maybe some picks.
You have to match salaries. And
another team would need to be involved. If the Spurs make a trade for Giannis, it's just not the Spurs in Milwaukee. They'd have to get another suitor or maybe 2 more involved. That way they can match salaries and kind of offload certain players and have them go to different teams.
Well, if you're Milwaukee, you do not want to trade them within your conference.
No.
You have to ship them west, right? So who has the cap space and the draft capital to make that happen? The Spurs are one of them. So it is a legit thing. Maybe it's more than a 10% chance. Maybe it's a 25% chance. It's not likely, but it's a legitimate chance of him coming over because East Coast team does not want to trade to an East Coast team. Makes sense. Spurs have the draft capital, have the cap space, have the contracts to kind of match or at least get it close to matching. All makes sense. The question is, Stephon Castle, is that going to be part of the deal? But the fact of the matter is, Joe, the idea that the Spurs are going to stand pat this year is not going to happen. They're not going to send Mitch Johnson out there with the guys and not have anybody come in. They're going to make a move one way or the other, and it might be, Joe, getting rid of some of these picks. I mean, at some point, Chris Leha from MC's general contractor oftentimes says F them picks.
Yep.
At some point, you have to F them picks, but you can't F this pick if it's 1 or 2. If it's Cooper Flagg, sorry, we're getting Cooper. If it's number 2, sorry, we're getting Dylan Harper. 3 and down, I would 3 and 4, I would ship away.
I don't know, man. The Spurs and Brian Wright, they're under the gun right now. I want to see what Brian Wright's going to do at maybe that 14th pick. If the Spurs stays pat at number 8, that's when you're going to have to hold his feet to the fire. You can't go ahead and say, all right, you get an easy out now because you did the most obvious, move at number 4 or what have you. At number 8 or number 14, that's where he's going to have to show me he's going to do something. You can't go at number 8 and look and say, okay, best available player is another point guard. Why? Why do the Spurs need another point guard? What are you going to do with this guy?
See, but you can't do that, Joe. You have to take the best player available because if anything else, it's a future trade asset.
More than likely, Mike, at number 8, who's going to be available? A shooting guard? A point guard?
You don't know what's going to run off the board. I see a lot of mock drafts that say that Ace Bailey is dropping in the mock drafts. He was considered to be the number 3 guy from Rutgers, and now most mock drafts have him at number 5 or so. A Con Knipple could be available at 8 from Duke. I mean, that's potential as a small forward. 2-3 kind of guy. JNSB saying, we're getting a top 3 pick. LOL, not possible. No, it is possible. 30% chance of being 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's like a 20% chance of it being 1, 2, or 3. It's a 1 in 5 chance. I mean, think about that, Joe. If you want to know what a 1 in 5 chance is or a 1 in 4 chance is, get a quarter out. This is the way to figure it out. Flip it. Call heads or tails. Okay? If you're right, flip it again. If you're right 2 times, guess what? That's 25% chance.
Yeah, look at our good friends watching here. Culture of Cuts. Our good friend over here. Make sure you go and check him out. And he says, what's cracking, homies? What's up, man?
Sam Salinas, interesting comment here coming in right now, saying that Sohan was Pop's guy. Says with Mitch as interim, he couldn't drop him, so he cut his playing time. Pop said, do it your way. Well, let's see, because if so, Sohan gone under Mitch. It's potentially. I think there's a lot of potential when it comes to that, Joe. I think that if this is Mitch Johnson's team, it's going to be done his way. And one of the things about the press conference yesterday that everyone kept saying, and no one seems to be denying, is the fact that Mitch has the respect of the players. Like, they keep on saying that he's the smartest guy in the room, that he's one of the smartest minds out there. There's a reason why he was the runner-up to the Washington Wizards head coaching job last year before he was even the interim with the Spurs. People around the league see him in a light that we don't see as Spurs fans because we have been spoiled by 5 championships. We've been spoiled by 30 years of Gregg Popovich. That the idea of going to somebody who is not experienced as an NBA head coach is scary. It's scary. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like getting out of a long-term relationship and going out into the dating world. I mean, in theory, it sounds exciting, but in reality, it's a scary task. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
What's Mitch going to do with this team, man? You look at this Spurs team, even going back the last couple seasons, even this last season. They still can't run the pick and roll. They still don't know the fundamentals when it comes to just playing fundamentally smart basketball. And I've watched this team get decimated when they've been up by 20 points against second and third stringers, and the second and third stringers of opposing teams have just run the court with this Spurs starting squad, and because they didn't do it in a sexy way, they just played smart, fundamental basketball, passing the ball, setting picks, setting screens, just getting a good quality shot. This Spurs team lacks that. I wonder if Mitch can bring that in.
We haven't even seen what this Spurs team is, Joe. We only saw like 10 games of it. When De'Aaron Fox got traded to the Spurs before the trade deadline, he joined a team. De'Aaron Fox, who played well as a Spur, he averaged 19.7 points per game, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds as a Spur, playing with one hand because he had to end the season with a hand injury. We knew he had a hand injury. And then in those 17 games they played, half of them Wemby was out with deep vein thrombosis, with a blood clot. They did not have a summer camp. They did not have De'Aaron Fox. Wemby was out 40% of the year. We don't know what we've got. So it's kind of like, even if they did roll the ball out to see what we got, we don't know what life is like with De'Aaron Fox as
this
as
Spurs
a
team's going to be a freaking Kia, dude. It looks nice, or a Hyundai. It looks nice on the outside, but when you look under the hood, the engine is shit.
Well, Joe, let me ask you a question. Do you think Stephon Castle's going to be better in year 2?
Possibly. I mean, I have high hopes. We don't know under Mitch Johnson, though.
Well, under Mitch Johnson, he's only been under Mitch Johnson. He hasn't been under anybody
but this
else.
is Mitch Johnson's. This is going to be his team. This is now, hey, we're going to officially give you the title of head coach. This is all you now, brother. Let's see what you can do.
I don't know the exact numbers, but as a starter, I would say that Stephon Castle probably averaged about 17 points per game as a starter. I have the belief, as a Spurs fan, that Stephon Castle will be better next year. I have a belief that the Spurs are going to be better because of De'Aaron Fox next year. I have a belief that Wemby is going to be an all-NBA defensive player next year. So if Wemby's getting better, we now have De'Aaron Fox. Castle's getting better. We have some veteran leadership there in Harrison Barnes. We have Keldon, who seems to turn it up. He turned back the clock last year. I'm looking at it, I'm thinking to myself, this team should get to 40 wins as currently constituted. You get some shooters around this team, you get a backup big, you might get a 45, 46 win team. You need a star. You need another player to like really show up for the Spurs to get to 50 wins at that point. But you know what, Joe? I mean, here's the thing. We have to ask the question, is Stephon Castle a future All-Star?
Possibly.
Well, who was he tutored by this year? We talked about this earlier. Who was tutored?
CP3?
Right? So SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander played his rookie season with the LA Clippers, right? Averaged 11 points per game, was second team All-NBA rookie. Got traded in the Paul George trade to Oklahoma City. Got to play shooting guard alongside Chris Paul. Went to 19 points per game. And then his third season went to 24 points per game after playing with Chris Paul. If we see that type of trajectory with Stephon Castle, which I think is very possible, Castle averaged 14.5 points per game this year.
Yeah.
Can Castle go from 14.5 to 18? I think he can.
Maybe.
Especially if he starts the whole season.
We have an incoming super chat by the Drew Show. Thanks, Drew. We appreciate the support. And he puts, Jimenez, I expected more from you, not even mentioning the lack of fiduciary responsibility of an interview, he says, process for the head coaching job.
Okay, well, this is the NFL. The NFL has a Rooney rule that states that you have to at least interview one minority, one whatever the case may be. But then again, isn't Mitch Johnson that? The fiduciary responsibility is this. Why this is different. It's extenuating circumstances. I would agree with you if the stroke had happened in the offseason and Pop had immediately gone out and said, I'm done. At that point, there's a big search for it all, right? That's I can see that happening. But if you have an interim coach that you're high on, what you don't do is bring other people to the Rocket Alcantara and Mitch Johnson sit there and see other people interview for that job. Because Mitch Johnson could just do the one-finger salute, tell the Spurs to go screw themselves, and go to another team. Because believe it or not, whether you want to believe it or not, Mitch Johnson is wanted by other teams. And at the end of the day, if Wemby blessed it, at the end of the day, if Duncan and all them are looking around going, man, this guy knows something. DeJounte was there for a reason. Kind of weird him being there, but he was there for a reason.
He's there to support.
You see people like Chris Paul. You see people like Steve Kerr and Draymond Green talk really highly of Mitch Johnson. There's something there that I think Spurs fans are not. Spurs fans are upset that the banana's green. They're not letting it, they don't want to give it any time to ripen.
Look at this. We got another incoming super chat from the Drew Show. Thanks again for the support. And he puts, gushing about your feels that Coach Pop gave Mitch a 100% endorsement, not mentioning that nobody passed the torch to Wright. He said, who's in charge? Two chunkless for you, Mike. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and give Mike the chunkla to the face. And there you go, Mike. You got the chunkla to the face. Your audio's off, by the way.
Not sure why I got the chunkla. Is it back on?
Yeah, it's on.
Not sure why I got the chunkla when I have been a supporter of Mitch from the get-go. And what's going to end up happening is he's going to do well, and everyone's going to be like, oh, well, Jimenez, of course it was going to work out. I mean, kind of like John Dyer, your good friend, our good friend from Exit 7. I was making a list of all the things that I was talking about with the Spurs that I was right about. And I posted it on Twitter, and I've done this before. But I posted, Team Tank for Wemby. His response was, well, everybody knew that was the thing to do. No. The vast majority of Spurs fans were like, we don't tank. That's something that's not the Spurs way. We're team hooping. We hooping, team playing, all that stuff. Spurnandez, our good friend, was team hooping, right? So I'm like, no, it becomes obvious that was the thing to do when we won the lottery, right? But no, me and James Pledger from San Antonio Sports Star. Not only that year, but the year before, we're saying that we need a tank. So I'm sorry, I was first on board, and the idea that I was that it was just the inevitable thing to do is stupid. That is revisionist history.
We got another incoming chat, super chat from the Drew Show. $2 from the Drew Show. Appreciate you, man. He says the Rooney Rule. Get the F out of here, Montgomery County, Mike.
I might be Bear County, Mike. I'm looking at property in San Antonio tomorrow.
There you go.
So I also posted on here the things that I have talked about with the Spurs. We should take for Wemby. Everyone's like, no, we should be team playing, right? The whole Sohan at point guard was a stupid idea. Oh, no, he could be like the next Kawhi, man. Jimenez, Pop sees something in him. He could be like the next Kawhi, different facet of his game. No, he failed, and it hurt his feelings.
Look at JHNSP.
Pop's too old to coach, Joe. Have I been saying that for years? Too old to coach? Was I right? And then lastly, Spurs should have drafted Şengün over Primo. I have a lot of bona fides when it comes to Spurs. I am typically, Joe, right 80% of the time when it comes to this team. I will say that. But guess what? No one wants to give me any effing flowers. They don't want to say I was right to say, well, it was obvious, Jimenez. You speak the obvious or revisionist history or whatever the case may be. I will be right about Mitch Johnson. I am Team Mitch. In Mitch we trust. He's going to do a good job.
We got you on tape saying that. So when next season, when this team lays an egg early on, you're still going to ride with your boy Mitch.
Did tanking actually help us, though, JHNSB says? Think hard about that one. Yes, we have Wemby and Castle. Joe, let's give some love to MCS General Contracting. When you come back, you're going to be by yourself for a minute, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll go ahead and give MCS General Contracting some love, home of the Diamond Hard Concrete. MCS General Contracting, more than 30 years of combined experience in concrete placement. They are the best in the business, honest pricing, high quality work. They get going on house foundations, driveways, concrete patio decks. If you want to extend the deck, extend the driveway. If you're a business and you need to put together a slab, a parking lot, or other concrete placement services or sidewalks, reach out to MCS General Contracting at 210-774-9155. They're confident in their skills, so give Chris Leha over at MCS General Contracting a call at 210-774-9155. And thank you for being a sponsor of this show. All right, thanks again to MCS General Contracting as they powered the chat here that everybody loves. Again, go ahead and give Chris Leha over at MCS General Contracting a call if you need to go ahead and get a basketball court, pickleball court, you need a pool, you need a landing like Mike has on the side of the house to go ahead and have the water beat away from your foundation. Go ahead and call MCS General Contracting. They'll go ahead and take care of you, and they're going to do it right the first time. They might not always be the cheapest, but they're going to do good quality work and get it done right the first time. Again, their number is 210-774-9155. And if you call, let them know that you heard it here first on the Area 210 podcast. So we're going to go ahead and keep this discussion going since everybody has so much to say about Mitch Johnson now taking the helm for the one San Antonio Spurs for this foreseeable future. All I'm saying, regardless of what Mike is talking about here, is just to hold Mitch accountable just like we would any other NBA head coach, and he's going to be graded by the wins and losses. I'm willing to go ahead and give him a shot here and see what he can do. But at the end of the day, he's going to be graded just like everybody else. It comes down to the wins and losses. Doesn't matter what the regular season record will be. At the end of the day, the Spurs fans, just like myself, are tired of the losing seasons, meaning you get moral victories for having more wins than you did in the previous season. But if it doesn't translate into getting into a play-in, doesn't translate into getting into the NBA playoffs, it's still a wasted season. And with the talent that they have right now, you would think, okay, well, you have Fox, you have Wemby, you're going to have Harrison Barnes, you have Castle out there. If this team is healthy, are they going to be better than just a couple more wins than they had last season? I think they would. The expectation for Spurs fans, including myself, is play-in or bust. You get into the play-in, you have an opportunity to move on. Spurs fans want to see the team move on. I want the excitement back here in town. I want to see Spurs fans all over the Alamo City in San Antonio Spurs garb. I want to see the Spurs flag erected once again from all the buildings here in downtown San Antonio. Want to see that excitement, that vibe. Everybody was saying there was something missing from Fiesta this season, right? This past, when it happened this last weekend. And that thing that was missing was the San Antonio Spurs in the playoffs. You're missing that vibe. You're missing that energy from the crowd. I saw a few fans out there wearing San Antonio Spurs gear, donning a hat, but it's not the same. You have the Spurs are synonymous with Fiesta, and that's what we're missing now. I want to see the return to glory. I do. And I don't know if Mitch is going to be the answer. I don't know. There's a big question mark because of his inexperience. I'm just going to go ahead and see what happens as we move forward with one Mitch Johnson at the helm. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just tired of the losing, man. That's just me. And we do have another $5 incoming super chat from the Drew Show. Thank you so much, Drew. I appreciate you. He says, Mike's indoors ments are the type of doors that swing out and in. Like a restaurant, Mitch is your guy till he's not flip-flop. Another chancla. He wants another chancla for Mike. I get what you're saying, Drew. I do. And that's the thing with Mike. Mike has been known as the flip-flopper. He's got that nickname from James Pledger of ESPN, the sports star here in San Antonio. So I thought that was quite funny because Mike will go ahead and flip-flop on occasion. Okay, we're going to go ahead and address some of the comments that are coming in. Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate you all being interactive with us. And July 26th, Joe wants to see the Spurs flag throbbing again during Fiesta. Sam Salinas, I want Fiesta to be an impromptu Spurs pep rally. You see, that's the thing that we used to have in years past. They used to do something called the Spurs March downtown San Antonio in years past when the Spurs were going into the playoffs. We don't do stuff like that anymore. Even with Coach Pop passing the torch to Mitch Johnson, our good friend over here, Christopher Leja, said, how come nobody's going honking, celebrating the passing of the torch or celebrating Coach Pop and kind of thanking him for what he's done for the city? Spurs fans haven't even done that. At least, like, get something coordinated, Go and have a progression of cars that are all donned up in Spurs gear and something. Spurs fans in there and super Spurs fans honk the horns, go down Commerce Street, celebrate Coach Pop. That hasn't happened yet.
Interesting. I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate a playoff victory, dude.
You want to go down Commerce, honk your horn?
I don't think have I ever done that? I've honked my horn, but I haven't gone down Commerce or Military Drive. I think I've honked down my horn like down Ingram Road or 1604. I think I've done that.
That's weak sauce, dude. You got to be in the Mecca, man. You got to be right there in Commerce, or you got to be on the south side of town. I know that's too ethnic for you, Mike. But going down Military Drive, come on, bro. No mamas.
Dude, last night in the NBA playoffs, whoa, Joe, that was fun. Those were two fun games last night as we saw two road teams come up big in game one of the semifinals. In the East, you saw the Knicks beat the Celtics 108-105. You sent me a text message, Joe, saying that was one of the most impressive comebacks you've ever seen.
And then in the playoffs this season.
In the playoffs. And then the Denver Nuggets said, hold my beer. Come back to beat the Thunder 121-119. Let's talk about the Nuggets Thunder first, okay?
All right.
Okay, the Thunder are by far the best team in the Western Conference. By far. But it's all about experience in the playoffs. We saw this with Golden State knocking out the Houston Rockets in 7 games. It's about experience. And last night, Oklahoma led this game most of the way, up by double digits for a good chunk of the game, and they wet the bed down the stretch. And oh my God, the coaching down the stretch for Oklahoma City. Okay, so I understand the idea. Oh, and we have to also talk about the fact that Aaron Gordon killed Chet Holmgren on a dunk. Do you want to see a dead body?
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, let's talk about the fact that Oklahoma City was fouling the Denver Nuggets 70 feet from the basket to prevent them from tying the game.
Yeah.
Because Denver was down by 3. Oklahoma City was like, well, you can't beat us with 2 free throws. We're going to keep fouling you. And down the stretch, what do? They fouled various players to get them to the line. They go knock down their free throws. And then what happened? Chet Holmgren got fouled. Chet, who's historically a 90% free throw shooter, he's an excellent free throw shooter. Wet the bed twice, missed both of them. Ball goes all the way down the length of the court. No timeouts. Oh, and by the way, real fast. Going back to that play where they fouled the Nuggets 70 feet from the basket.
Yeah.
Guess who wasn't on the court? Jokic.
Yep.
Why didn't they just let them play? Like, just bring the ball down the court, chunk a 3, whatever the case may be. Jokic was not on the court. By fouling 70 feet from the basket, it allowed Jokic back onto the court. Chet Holmgren misses 2 free throws. Game over. Game winner, Aaron Gordon.
And here you go. Here's your game winner right here.
It rims out. Brown grabs it. 7 seconds left. Westbrook, 5 seconds. They're down by 1. Gordon got it. Aaron Gordon with a deep shot.
That's the game right there. And you know how fitting was it to have Russell Westbrook be the guy that finds Aaron Gordon open, passes him the ball, and Aaron Gordon just knocks it down. You know, Russell Westbrook had some opportunities there when he was wide open from beyond the arc to pass him the ball, and he just bricks it. And now Aaron Gordon, he gets the ball in his hands, and he's able to capitalize and bring it home for the for the Denver Nuggets. This just comes down to poor coaching down the stretch, poor decision making.
It does. The Nuggets are not very deep. They basically played 7 players. I mean, an 8th player played 6 minutes. But last night you mentioned Russell Westbrook, 18 points and 2 assists and 2 rebounds. He shot 7 of 13 from the field. But, man, Jokic, 42 points, 22 rebounds, 6 assists. Aaron Gordon knocked down 22 points, including the final game winner pretty much at the buzzer. You look at it, Joe, this is not a very deep team. But who's going to guard Jokic? And as long as Jokic is going out there for 40 and 20, they have a chance. And I think what ended up happening yesterday was Oklahoma City outthought themselves. They outthought the situation. They were trying to play chess when you didn't need to play chess. Because if you're going to play chess, why are you going up against the Nuggets to play chess? I don't understand that. They were up so big most of the game, but the Nuggets kept it close. They would chip it back down. Down 14, now it's down 7. Down 12, now down 5. They would keep it close enough. 3-pointers started going down. And then the Thunder outthought the situation. They should have let the ball play out. 9 seconds to go. Jokic is on the bench. See if Denver can get a 3-pointer without that guy out there. Without him to rebound. They outthought the situation. They fouled to allow him back onto the court, and they almost had a 5-second violation. Chet Holmgren, 90% shooter. Missed both. The odds of a 90% shooter missing 2 free throws in a row is like 1%. And he missed both.
You know what? I'd have to ask this question. Is Aaron Gordon, has he become the most clutch player right now in the postseason for any team?
One of them, for sure.
Right? I mean, he's had the game-winning dunk on April the 26th, right?
Yeah, that game-winning dunk, which was interesting because it went through the cylinder. At the buzzer.
At the buzzer. And then he had this game-winning 3-point shot against the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Right.
To steal game 1 and steal the home court advantage. I mean, the guy's clutch.
Now, Vegas still has Oklahoma City as heavy favorites to win the series. And in fact, all three teams that lost at home this week, whether it be Oklahoma City or the Boston Celtics, who lost in overtime yesterday to the New York Knicks, or the Cleveland Cavaliers, all three are heavily favored to win their series still by Las Vegas. They think it's going to be a long series, maybe a longer series than most, but it's exciting to watch. But Oklahoma City should, I would still put my money on Oklahoma City Thunder to still advance. They're the better team. It's just one of those things where I look at it and I think to myself, how do you stop Jokic? It's about matchups, Joe. Maybe it's not the best team. It's about matchups.
It's not so much about who's the better team. It's about who plays better and when it matters the most in the playoffs. And I think that right now experience is shining through. And with that said, I have to go with Denver besting OKC in this 7-game series. I think Denver's experience is going to shine through, and OKC's lack of experience is going to be their downfall. I hope that's how it plays out because, I mean,
Right.
I've been seeing that this trend has been continuing on throughout the postseason, you know?
Hand of a fist with a great comment there. I disrespected Aaron Gordon when I said Sohan is a poor man's version of Aaron Gordon.
Hey.
Yeah, I kept hearing that too, man. Oh, Sohan's kind of like Aaron Gordon. Here's what you don't learn in the NBA. I've only seen it once, and this is why Spurs fans are very spoiled. I've only seen one broken shot ever improve dramatically, and that was Kawhi Leonard.
Oh,
Right?
God.
Because you look at like Wemby. Wemby might only shoot 33% from 3, but it's not a broken shot. It looks good. It's just not going in. Stephon Castle's bad shooting from 3 has nothing to do with the form or the rotation or the release. It has everything to do with confidence. Because there are some times when Stephon Castle shoots the 3 and doesn't even completely follow through. He's like hesitant in a way. That's a confidence issue that'll develop over time. So that's a broken shot. And yeah, he improved from 25% to 33% this past season. but no one's guarding him at the 3 line. He's wide open. He's wide open. So they're daring him to shoot.
Yeah, they leave him wide open because they already know his shooting percentage from beyond the arc. Not very good. They're like,
right.
Show me. We're gonna sit out here and watch you knock down this wide open 3-pointer. Do it. And more than likely, it's gonna brick.
And even if it doesn't go in, even if it does go in, it's like, okay, well, you're not gonna do it the next time. You're not gonna do it next time. But you see Oklahoma City go out there and just wet the bed. Think about what it's like to be in that crowd, to be so amped up for the entire night. Your team leading by double digits for a good chunk of the night. And for a team in Denver who has won a chip, who has a brand new interim head coach because Mike Malone got run out, right? A little bit of a mutiny there. Yeah. It's kind of like, what are you going to do? I mean, how do you react to that? Because as much as we talk about how good of a team this is, and, Oklahoma City did win a ton of games, 68 wins. The fact of the matter is that Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams are not very experienced when it comes to the playoffs. And you have a bad matchup against Denver. Aaron Gordon, he's a brick wall defensively sometimes. Okay? He's just a girthy dude. I mean, he's like a Lego man out there, right? And it's a bad matchup. It's not to say that Denver's better than Oklahoma City. It's just that Denver matches up very well because they have no one to stop Jokic. Because Jokic, who are you going to have guard him? Chet? Chet weighs 15 pounds, man. Jokic is a big burly dude, man, weighing 350. I know he doesn't weigh 350, but still, go with me on this. It's kind of funny. Meantime, in the Eastern Conference, you were all about that big comeback from the Knicks. Now, that game was different, though, because the Knicks were closer into the game most of the way, tied it at 100 to send it to overtime. Goes in OT. They had a chance to win it at regulation. Didn't go in. Goes to overtime. And New York stole it from the get-go in overtime. I mean, they took a quick 6-0 lead in overtime and went on to hold on to that game. Despite Jaylen Brown, despite Jason Tatum, all of that stuff. See the Knicks go out there and do it.
It wasn't a very high-scoring overtime period where you had the Knicks only scored 8 points compared to the Celtics 5 points, and there's your game. That was the difference in overtime, as the final score was 108 to 105. But one thing that was surprising to me is the way that the Knicks were able to come back. They got it done because they got production out of some of their other players, and that's the way that you're going to win these types of games when you're going up, and let's be honest, against a better team and the Boston Celtics. Now, over a 7-game series, do I see the Knicks besting the Celtics? More than likely, it's not going to happen. I see the Celtics getting this done in 6 games. I think the Knicks are going to be able to go ahead and make it interesting, and they're going to win another game. But ultimately, I see the Celtics moving on in this series. But the surprising thing is when you have the Pacers and Cavaliers, I still don't think the Cavaliers are as good as advertised. I think that the Pacers' size can give the Cavaliers trouble. And this Pacers team has shown me that they're scrappy, they're hungry. And I think they're going to come out here, and I think they're going to surprise everybody, and they're going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they're going to go ahead and best the Cavaliers in 6 games.
The Boston Celtics live by the 3, they die by the 3. Look how close they got to winning that game yesterday. And they were 15 of 60 from 3, 25%. Yeah. Jaylen Brown, 1 of 10. Jason Tatum, 4 of 15. Drew Holiday, 2 of 7. Derek White had a decent 3-point shooting day, 5 of 16. I mean, still not a decent movie. It's respectable, I guess. But it's one of those things where all things need to go New York's way. I liked what Mike Greeny had to say on ESPN this morning. I thought it was kind of funny. Guess who wasn't at that game yesterday?
Who?
Spike Lee. Spike Lee was at the Met Gala, right? So he posed the question, if you're Spike Lee, do you show up for game 2, or do you go or do you become superstitious and say, no, I got to stay away from the stadium?
Oh, I don't know. Spike is synonymous with the Knicks, man. I would have him there.
Let's get some love to Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Ken's 5. The original El Jefe.
Locked On Spurs is your daily Spurs podcast, hosted by Jeff Garcia, the lead Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Jeff has a healthy plethora of guests all the time on the Locked On Spurs podcast. You can also follow Jeff on Threads at Jeff G Ken's 5 SA. You can also follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. So make sure you go ahead and give Jeff a follow not only on Threads and Twitter, but also on YouTube at youtube.com/@Locked On Spurs. This is where you're going to be able to find the replay of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
And if you can go onto his page, Joe, some fresh video coming in of the Spurs' Jeremy Sohan. He has landed in Manila. He's in the Philippines for some sort of NBA event that's going on over there. So Jeff Garcia has a little bit of a preview of that. Jeremy Sohan, there he is, meeting whoever is called Neon Man. I'm not sure who Neon Man is, but still, Jeremy Sohan sporting the blonde locks. Also, an article today from Kawhi Leonard.
Oh, I'm a Jeremy.
Oh, let's see what's going on here. What's going on?
You always like my post on Instagram for some reason. Yeah. Okay. Enjoy Manila. Yeah, thank you.
He's like, I don't know who the fuck this dude is.
Also on Jeff G Spurs Zone on Twitter and Threads. Also on Kens5.com. Jeff Garcia has an article about Kawhi Leonard, who offered his thoughts on Gregg Popovich. Ime Udoka. Hey, Joe. Ime Udoka and Steve Kerr were wearing those T-shirts that were identical about Pop.
Yeah.
That goes to show that this was planned out days in advance, Joe. This wasn't, let's go ahead and have a press conference and let's just do it today. I mean, Ime Udoka, Steve Kerr, both wearing the identical shirts. Both of them coming from Coach's family tree. In fact, Ime Udoka said as much. The way that he phrased a certain answer to a question was, I've known about this. You've known about this? What do you mean you know about this? This is something that allegedly just happened. And where did Joe go?
Michael Jimenez joined.
Mike, you were like midstream there. Kind of lost you.
Okay, now I was going to say that Ime Udoka spilling the beans that this was something that was planned out days in advance, that he knew about this for a while. That they had known about this. So the whole idea that the team just got turned over to Mitch Johnson doesn't make any sense. Actually, everyone's been in on it for the longest time.
Yeah, they've known about it for a while, And that's the thing, is that it's probably one of the worst kept secrets. If you're a head coach, you probably knew. I mean, Coach Pop has a huge coaching tree, and he's probably went ahead and talked with these guys privately, had some conversations, and they knew what was coming. So they just kept it under wraps because out of respect for Pop, letting him and the organization announce when he's going to go ahead and retire, which they did.
Exactly. And, it's one of those things where you look at what happened yesterday, Joe. The word closure coming to mind. Our good friend Sam mentioned that. I alluded to that earlier in the show. It was needed, Joe. We needed to see what he was looking like. And if this is what Pop was like, now, what is this? December, January, February, March, April, May, 6 months later. Imagine what it was like for Pop and where he was cognitively, physically, 6 months ago, Joe. 5 months ago, during Christmas time.
Look at Black Bucket. He has a comment here, and he says, they knew Pop's stroke was not mild, and he wasn't coming back.
Yeah. Most definitely.
I mean, one of the things that I took away from the press conference is, even though people go through strokes and whatnot, much like my dad did, after they go through the rehabilitation and they start getting some of their cognitive abilities back, some of their mobility back, learn how to talk again, walk again, all that. We saw some of the lingering effects there with Coach Pop, but more importantly, he's still spry. He's still able to go out there and still want to crack jokes and be funny, So his personality is still there. It's just he's not at 100% yet. And I don't know if he'll ever regain most of his mobility back. You do hope so, and you wish him the best when it comes to his health. But, at the end of the day, you still see that he was still not able to move his hand. You know, he still had some of that. He
Right.
wasn't gonna walk in with the cane, and we just wish him the best. I mean, we can all tell that the stroke was probably more severe than what the Spurs led on, but nonetheless, I just wish him the best, and hopefully he can recover fully from it.
It's like his mind and his mouth were not at the same level as far as speed. He wanted to say certain things.
Yeah.
It was just slower in processing and coming out of his mouth. We have a couple of comments there. Tony Ornelas asking the question: if Mitch suffers through an impactful losing streak next season, would you guys let him go mid-season or keep him until the season ends?
Good one.
He can lose 30 games in a row. They're not getting rid of him.
They're not. We're gonna ride him out the whole season to see what he can do. I mean, he's not gonna be graded by one losing season.
They're going to write about 2 seasons minimum.
He's gonna be graded on what he's gonna be able to do with this team because they know, with Mitch at the helm, this next season is going to be. It's kind of. I'm not gonna say it's a wasted season. It's gonna be a season in flux with him taking the helm and putting his identity on the team. And whether they win or lose, that's not really what they're going to be looking at as an organization. They're going to see more of him putting his imprint on the team and moving them forward into the future. Now, second tenure with Mitch Johnson here in his second season here, that's going to be something different. The expectation is produce, get this team to the promised land. And if he doesn't, those are going to be hard conversations to have with the front office.
Well, let me ask you this, Joe. Isn't that a good thing? The fact that it's in flux, isn't it a good thing that things are changing and we're actually turning onto a new chapter? Because the idea that we're going to go back to Pop was not very exciting for me as a Spurs fan. Or that we were going to go back to the Pop way of doing things was not exciting. I know he wears a shirt that says El Jefe and all that stuff, but come on. The whole president of operations, all that, may as well say you're King of England. Because that's not a thing. He's not going to be out there able to work the way that he wants to work. I think it's a figurehead title. I think that it comes with very little bite to it. I think we've turned the page. It allows him to still be part of the organization. I think the idea that we're going to run things through Pop and that Pop's going to overshadow things, I think that died yesterday. I don't think Pop has the energy or the desire or people are going to take it seriously anymore. He's moved. I think the Spurs effectively yesterday moved on from Pop. Even though he may be in the building, if he was 100% there, Joe, and he had very few effects, I would be fearful of the shadow being cast over him. But because we saw the way that he looked yesterday and as slow as he was in his words and the pace by which he was speaking and the pace by which he was processing things, it makes me feel more confident the Spurs have actually legitimately moved forward.
I think it was Coach Pop that actually told the Spurs to move forward because you heard him talk to the media yesterday, and he even addressed it, and he said, as you can tell by, his appearance and, the way he is right now, he's like, I'm not able to give this what it needs in the context of coaching for a full season or what I need to give it moving forward. And that was why, again, the passing of the torch had to be had from Coach Pop over to Mitch, and Coach Pop said as much when addressing the media, hey, he picked Mitch. Mitch is his guy. He's going to roll with him. And there you go. The rest is history, But Coach Pop even said it himself, he's just not able to. Physically, he's just not able to give it what it deserves as far as being a head coach of said team. He can't do it.
Let me ask this question. Let's look back positively over the years of Gregg Popovich. Yeah. What is your favorite Gregg Popovich moment?
Probably when my favorite moment with Gregg Popovich was that moment when he was addressing the team because they were playing like dog shit. And he came out and he said, you know what? You all need to go out there and play tough. I want to see some nasty. And they responded to him. To me, that was an iconic moment because that was a crucial moment where the team was just getting a little lackadaisical and they were playing a little bit too soft. And he's like, y'all are capable of playing better. Show it to me. Prove it to me. Show me some nasty. I love that moment out of Coach Pop.
It was a great moment. I don't argue or deny that that's the number one because it encapsulated in like 4 or 5 words what it meant to be coached by Gregg Popovich when Pop was at his prime powers, at his highest powers. 15 years ago. I liked the comical side. I liked when they intentionally fouled Shaq at the start of a game, do hack a Shaq 1 second into the game, and Shaq is looking bewildered, like what the hell's going on? And Pop is on the side going like this, and for Shaq to start cracking up and all that,
Yeah.
That just showed a side of Pop that is different. But we're hearing all the stories from, like we saw DeJounte Murray was there yesterday. DeMar DeRozan talking about how Pop cried with him the night he found out that his dad had passed. It's so sad that people have to talk about politics all the time when it comes to things and try to make things because they don't agree with this politics. If we're honoring this person as a Spur fan, and by the way, he's a military veteran, he can say whatever the F he wants to say. If you're all pissed off and bent out of shape that he doesn't talk the right wing politics that you like, jump off a cliff. It's not about you; it's about him.
Yeah, but
and
the
we
thing
all
is,
have,
at
we,
the
we
end of
all
the
have
day,
we all have the right to say what we want to say, and we
You
all
can.
have and all that stuff. But
You can,
stand
but there's
down.
a platform for that, Mike, and it's called YouTube. It's called TikTok. It's called Instagram, Facebook. In the context of Coach Pop addressing the media and putting in what he feels needs to be said as far as politics go, to me, it wasn't the right time to do that. I go to a game to be entertained.
Well, he doesn't do it during the game. He does it at the press conference.
I get that.
All people have to do is this: change the
Yeah.
channel.
When I'm watching him
that's as
address
simple
the
as it is.
media after a game, and I'm just there listening, we listen or we go to the games and we watch the games to be entertained, not to be given propaganda. That's my biggest gripe.
The only time that I had a gripe about Pop with what he said, when he was saying things, had nothing to do with politics because he doesn't do it during the 48 minutes of a game. He does it at his own time, post game. But I will say this though. When he took to the podium to complain to the crowd about not booing Kawhi Leonard, that was wrong. That was during the game, and for him to talk to us like we're little kids, that was wrong. 100% wrong.
Oh, look, we got an incoming super chat from the Drew Show. Thanks, Drew. Appreciate you. He says, of course, Pop in the front office won't keep the same energy with Mitch like Bob Hill. Pop can't take. What was he saying? I can't see. Oh, Pop can't take his job. He says he can lose 50.
Okay, he's basically saying that the leash is going to be shorter for Mitch because Pop can go off and lose 50, 60 games and everyone still praise him. But Mitch Johnson has a shorter leash is basically what he's saying. And I can see that, but the leash can't be 3 months. The leash can't be 6 months. The leash has to be 2 years because he needs to get his guys in there. He needs to be part of the draft. He needs to have the offseason. He needs to have the camp, the summer league, and all that stuff. The idea that people are complaining about Mitch Johnson winning 34 games when, again, Wemby missed almost half the season. De'Aaron Fox only played 17 games, and when he did, he had half a hand, right? The idea that this was all going down, they had no shooting from the outside. They had no backup center, and the guy won 34 games, and people are still bitching. What are you talking about? He did an amazing job this past year. He did what's it called? Adjust to who? The roster sucked at the back end of it. He has to be given 2 years to figure things out, man. It's not going to be, if he has a 6-game losing streak in December, is he out? No, because you don't do that. You don't turn into the Dallas Cowboys. You actually give your young coach an opportunity and a chance. I got to blow my nose. Stand by.
God, that's gross. Yeah, there's a lot of comments today, man. Appreciate y'all. I'm trying to show every single one and trying to keep up with the chat, but that's a good problem to have. So I appreciate you guys. I try to get to every single comment and show it on screen because we owe that to you guys because you took the time to go ahead and write said comments. So we appreciate every single one of you guys. Appreciate the support, man. And look at Leha's putting Mike acting as if Coach Pop wasn't the coach and had this same record, he wouldn't be talking shit. F out of here.
I would hope that a coach that has 5 championships that was healthy would have gotten more out of this team. The fact of the matter is that I think a healthy Pop would have gotten fewer. I honestly believe that Pop was probably one of the 12 worst coaches in the NBA going into last season. Get past his prime. Dude, no one in the NBA circles thought Pop was a top-tier coach anymore. Not even second tier or third tier. It's kind of like having Tim Duncan go out there and play power forward at the age of 48. He's going to average, 5 points? 7 points? They're not the same. They pass their prime. And I was called an ageist for so long. James Pledger from San Antonio Sports Star several times came on the show to yell at me, calling me an ageist. It wasn't being an ageist. It was being a realist.
No, my favorite James Pleasure moment is when we had him on the show and you got him so upset that he goes, "Mike, you idiot." No, he goes, "You moron." That's what he called you. You got him so upset. And I don't know what it is, but you know how to get under Pleasure's skin and just kind of turn the knife.
And I do it in person too, which is kind of funny, man. Kind of funny.
Oh God, man.
Dude,
It's
I
hilarious.
cannot believe the draft lottery is in a week. That's crazy.
It's right around the corner, man. And that's going to be the determination, of course, where teams are going to go ahead and select. And that's crucial. It's a big deal, for your team's future. And Spurs fans are going to be tuning in because Spurs right now have the 8 and the number 14 pick, on paper. But we never know what happens when the ping pong balls fall, what's going to happen with the San Antonio Spurs. They could actually surprise everybody and move up. Can you imagine, Mike, if they get another top 4 or a top 3 pick? The city's going to riot, dude. They're going to go crazy, the Spurs fans are. And rightfully so.
Yep.
Rightfully so. I'm hoping that the ping pong balls will fall in the Spurs' favor, and hopefully they get to move up from the number 8 pick up to maybe a top 4 pick. That would be huge for this team.
Yeah, and then you have all these people on Spurs Twitter saying, well, the Spurs could move up. I mean, what do we have to do to go get Cooper Flagg? I'm like, dude, that doesn't exist. The Spurs were going to trade Wemby last year, right? You get Cooper Flagg by being the number 1 pick in the draft. You get Dylan Harper by being the number 2 pick in the draft. That's simply put, man. Tonight we have 2 games in the playoffs. Pacers against the Cavaliers. Cavaliers trail in that series 1-0. Pacers stole game 1. Cleveland fair by 7.5 points. And then we have game 1 tonight between the Golden State Warriors, who upset the Houston Rockets in that 7-2 matchup, on the road against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Warriors taking the 7 games, only 2 days rest. Minnesota favored by 6.5. Give me the home teams tonight, man. Give me some home cooking tonight.
And look at that. Justin R says, haven't we moved up in every lottery pick except for the primo year? We've had great lottery luck. That's what I'm saying, man. That's why Spurs fans are so hopeful when they go ahead and have the NBA draft lottery, given the history of the team, that they are going to go ahead and move up, and they're not going to have that 8th overall pick. They're going to have number 4 and number 5 pick,
So there's a good question by Ish there. Can you read that one?
Sure. Let me go ahead and put that. He says, how far can we move up with the package 8 and 14 together? Top 5?
So that's a very good question. So for those of you who don't know this, the NFL draft and the NBA draft typically have what are called point values for their draft picks, right? And I'll give you an example right here. The number 1 pick, if it's worth 1,000 points, for example, is considered the number 1 pick. The number 8 pick is considered 475. The 14 is worth 335. So 475 plus 335 is 810. Theoretically, if you package the 8 and 14, you should get into the top 3 or at number 3. But that is in a regular draft or a week draft like last year. I'm looking at another draft chart here that says the value of the Spurs picks are the equivalent of, was it 8 and 14, right?
8 and 14.
Yeah, they're saying somewhere around the 3 pick is what you can get to if you package the 8 and 14. But the problem is that this is a strong draft. So you might be able to get to 5. Package up 8 and 14 to get to the 5. Maybe get Trey Johnson. One reason why you would do that, Joe, is because these first-round draft picks have guaranteed roster spots and guaranteed salary spaces. So that's a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing in the sense that you can lock them down like Stephon Castle and Wemby for 4 years. But it's a bad thing in the sense that if they don't pan out like a Malachi Branham or a Blake Wesley, they're just killing your roster spots. They're taking a roster spot at a defined cost that's above the minimum.
I'm looking at something here, man, that just came in from Front Office Sports, and they're reporting that Senator Ted Cruz is kind of pushing back a little bit here on an old, let's say, rule that was in place as of 1961. He's questioning whether the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961 still benefits fans today, with so many options of, with streaming subscriptions that you got to pay for to view your favorite, let's say, your favorite sports team all season long.
Oh yeah, that's typical Republican Party there because they're going after rules from 1961.
1961.
Like right now the administration is using a law from 1797 to justify certain things. 1797, really? Shit's happened since then. But look at CBS Sports' mock draft, by the way. Yeah. NBA mock draft. They have Cooper Flag going number 1 to the Jazz. They have Dylan Harper going 2 to Washington. Ace Bailey going 3 to Charlotte. VJ Edgecombe of Baylor going number 4 to New Orleans. Number 5, Trey Johnson. Dude, okay. If we moved up, and I know a lot of people on Spurs Twitter, I'm a big fan of Eric Salinas. Does a fantastic job following the Spurs. He's a good follow on Spurs Twitter. He and I argue about Trey Johnson. Trey Johnson reportedly has had one of the best workouts, pre-combine workouts of anybody that's ever seen. They're saying that this guy could be elite. He shot 40% from 3 last year, Joe. 20 points per game for UT. 6'6" shooting guard. If he's there, Joe, I want him at 5. Con Knipple from Duke going number 6 according to CBS Sports. Number
Free
7.
the nipple.
Common Maluwak. They have all 3 Duke players going in the top 7. They have the Spurs taking at number 8 a shooting guard named Kasparas Ionosis, who is averaged 15 points per game last year. And then at number 14, they have the Spurs going after, let's see here, Liam McNeely of UConn. Bore me to tears, dude. If we get Liam McNeely, I'm going to be pissed. That guy I'm not saying he sucks. He's just boring.
But wouldn't it be a very Spurs thing to do, though?
Yeah.
Nothing sexy, nothing extravagant, just
I think Valis 14 has it right. Says Trey Johnson has the ability to be the guy we all thought Devin Vassell could be. It's a very good point.
Devin Vassell, unfortunately, for Spur fan, this is who he's going to be. He's reached his pinnacle, his apex. This is who exactly you're going to get. Somebody who's inconsistent most nights, going to show up here and there, but doesn't do it on a consistent basis. And yes. I think that's the biggest disappointing thing that Spurs fans have to live with.
Sam Salinas is going on a political rant right now. Here's the thing, Sam. Not all laws are in the Bill of Rights, dude, and vice versa. It's just like there's some laws that are laws. Not all laws make it to the Constitution, right?
Yeah, basically this whole debacle is because of the blackouts, and how you have blackouts in certain areas, in certain markets. And all that was done back in the 60s because it helped baseball. Because people were moving from over the air to a paid cable TV service, right? And this was helping said market wherever they were at, right? Wherever they lived at.
Right.
But now that you have people leaving cable and satellite and all that, because it's really not a thing anymore, unless you're in a rural area, then it is a thing. But mostly everybody's getting they're ingesting their sporting events through some type of a streaming service, whether that be Hulu, Fubo, whatever you might have, YouTube TV. And now you can go ahead and watch a lot of your sporting events through these subscription based tiers. that you have, even with Peacock, CBS Sports, Amazon, and whatnot. It's getting kind of to the point to where the fan base, the consumer, is going to start to have to pick what are they going to wind up paying for, because if you have to pay for multiple services just to watch your NBA games, your NFL games, your baseball games, or whatever it is that you're watching, it becomes a little bit too much at the end of the day.
It made sense to cut the cord a long, long time ago.
Yeah, but it's expensive now.
Why are people getting all political in our chat today, man? I say this to people who say things about the 1700s. I'm like, look at the color of your skin. If you're brown, you wouldn't have been a citizen. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I don't care what these people said in 1775, 1790. They didn't want me to be a citizen. Fuck them. Those wig-wearing mother truckers.
Look at Hanover Fist says, if no longer relevant, repeal it. Yeah.
Well, shit. Well, I was watching a thing the other day about how for 12 years, alcohol was illegal in the United States because of prohibition. I like this, Justin R. If I pay my taxes, what do you say?
There it is.
If I pay my taxes for the arena, then I should get to watch for free. No more regional sports network.
Especially Bally's, dude. Bally's is absolute garbage, man. We have to pay $20 a month to watch the Spurs go out there and have another losing season. It's like, and then on top of that, you have to put up with the service that Bally's has, which is complete garbage. Now it's FanDuel Sports Network because they merged in with that, but it's still as awful as everybody remembers. Trying to watch on TV or your phone, the app crashes and it comes back again. It's a struggle, and you're paying for this. You know, it's like, why?
Yeah, Ish is saying that, like Mike, I travel to Space City almost every weekend. He says he has FanDuel, YouTube TV, and League Pass, and it's still difficult to watch Spurs games on the road. Very frustrating. Very true. I got rid of YouTube TV because they didn't have Bally Sports.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, I got Fubo, no Bally. I can watch my games, Spurs games on Bally Sports. But guess what? They don't have TNT. It's like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And then you have to get the passwords of all your family members who have like other things, other systems, and then you go with that.
You know what I have, and this is the one thing that it's good and bad, right? So I have the Disney bundle, right? That has Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and what is the other one that it has? Hulu, right? So you have Hulu. Yeah. Got those three. Plus I have CBS Sports. I have the Peacock Network. And for free, not free, but I still pay for it, I have the Max. With that said right there, I can pretty much watch almost anything I want to watch. The only thing that I can't watch on occasion is a basketball game that might be occurring on ESPN, but those are far and few between. Most of the time, I have everything I need with the FanDuel app included to watch the San Antonio Spurs play basketball, to watch almost every single basketball game that I want, with the exception of not being able to watch Screaming A. Smith every morning. I don't have ESPN. I'm not really missing much because I can go ahead and watch the Pat McAfee show if I want, which I think is better than watching Screaming A. Smith. Right. But there you go. I mean, you have to kind of pick and choose in today's arena now because everything is too expensive, you know?
Yeah. Chica was telling me the other day, she was like, baby, we got to settle down on expenses. I'm like, expenses? You make good money. I make good money. What are we doing here? She's like, well, we got to cut down on some of the monthly bills because we travel a lot. She goes, we have too many subscription services. I'm like, well, babe, I got rid of Paramount. I got rid of Peacock. I got rid of some. She goes, yeah, but we don't need all of these. She goes, pick one between Hulu and Netflix. And I was like, pick one. I was like, girl, I'll just go make more money. I got both. Okay? Don't give me this pick one. Love you like crazy, but no. You don't cut my TV time because you want to save $9.
Chica's going to win.
No, she ain't going to win this battle. I'll let her win a lot of battles, but this ain't going to be one. Cutting my TV. Get the freak out of here.
You're going to cut my TV when you pull the remote out of my cold, dead hand.
Do you know what I told her? Do you know what I asked her? How many mani-pedis are we cutting back on?
Oh, she said absolutely none.
Well, then. Okay, we're keeping the streaming services then, Chica.
Yeah, she ain't going to cut back on her Starbucks.
Mexican Gio says, "Show her that W-2." Joe, we
Man.
have passed the time. We're an hour 35 in, Joe.
There you
It's
go,
time to
man.
call
It's
it a
time.
close.
All right, man. Well, it's a good show. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Well, like I said, we do appreciate all the chat that comes in here. And I said I try to show every single one that I can
Yeah,
because
Black
they took the
Bucket,
time.
Black Bucket making it seem like I talked to her like Gregg Popovich.
No
Show me,
nasty for Mike.
show me some nasty.
No, he's saying no nasty for
I know.
Mike.
I'm like, I'm the Popovich in here. Just play.
Chica gonna cut you off, Mike.
Right.
I'll show you. I'm gonna save $9. All right, we'll see you guys later, man. We're out of here. Bye.